This podcast is sponsored by our good friends at DexShirts.com. Check out DexShirts.com for a great selection of awesome movie-themed t-shirts. And as an exclusive offer to listeners of What's Your Favorite Movie, use the promo code WYFMovie at the checkout and get 20% off your entire order. For unique and exclusive t-shirts inspired by nostalgia, pop culture, and iconic movies, that's DexShirts.com, D-E-X, shirts.com.
Would you like to hear a perfectly marvelous joke? A real snapper.
Joke? Snapper?
Yes. There are these two wonderful young people, Jane and Michael, and they meet one day on the street, and Jane says to Michael, "I know a man with a wooden leg named Smith." And Michael says, "Really? What's the name of his other leg?"
The man's gone mad. Call the guard!
Thank you for joining us. This is What's Your Favorite Movie? Another movie podcast in a galaxy of 70,000 other movie podcasts. Here at What's Your Favorite Movie, we like to focus on our personal relationships with movies, why we love movies, stories and memories about our favorite movies, why movies become a part of our lives. My name is Ed South, and welcome to our little show. You can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter at WYF Movie Podcast. And go ahead and share a link to this show with your friends, your family, your loved ones, the people sitting behind you in the movie theater. You should even share the show with that person in front of you at the Redbox who is just taking way too long. And also, folks, if you're listening on iTunes or wherever, please hit subscribe. It helps us out oh so much. Well, we have not talked about Disney that much on this show, and if anybody who knows me knows one thing about me, it's that I'm deathly afraid of owls. But if they know two things, it's also that I loves me some Disney. From the big movies that everybody has seen to the ones nobody remembers, like Unidentified Flying Oddball or Blackbeard's Ghost. Cartoons, theme parks, television, comic books, I'm here. I'm there. I'm here, I'm there. I'm everywhere. For the past couple of summers, I've held an event in my backyard called Disney Under the Stars. And not only do we screen a classic Disney film outdoors under a blanket of stars, but I also try and bring a little extra Disney magic to the evening with music and food, activities for the kids, trivia, prizes, people wear their Disney apparel. It's a fun time. It's good times. And I invite everybody I've ever come in contact with throughout my entire life. One of my Facebook friends from school, who I knew was a big Disney fan, started coming up to the event with her family. And last year at our screening of Pinocchio, we got to talking about the podcast here. And I said, hey, you need to come on the show and talk about Disney with me. And here she is. Sherri, welcome to What's Your Favorite Movie?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being a supporter of the show. And thanks for driving out to our remote studios to record another fantastic episode. And I always love when people come dressed for the occasion. Sherri has upped the Disney, we have to decide Disney Nerd, yeah, yes. I have, what are we going to call ourselves? But a Walt Disney World Preview Center shirt. Not just Walt Disney, it's before Disney World opened, the Preview Center, which is super nerdy, and I won't even get into it with you guys out there, but you can look it up. But that's an awesome shirt. And your daughter gave you that, you said?
Yes, she did.
And she's
also a Disney nerd.
Disney nerd
yes.
of the highest order.
Yes.
So I guess my first question, what are we going to go with? Disney nerds, Disney freaks, Disney enthusiasts, Mouseketeers?
I guess I always say Disney nerd or Disnerd.
Yeah,
I guess enthusiast sounds a little less
enthusiast
nerdy.
Sounds like we just have a lot of books on our shelf
right.
and go to classes and whatnot. But that's not the case. Well, before we get started, and we're going to talk about Disney pretty much exclusively, because why not? Because that's the best.
Yep.
I wanted to go back to our last episode when we sampled some beers, and I got some good feedback about that. Everybody kind of liked that segment. Now, there's no such thing as a Disney beer that I could find, and that doesn't seem appropriate. So, in fact, actually, a little side note, did you know Walt was looking at Baltimore as a location for the East Coast Disney park, and Baltimore wanted him to serve alcohol at the park? That was like the deal breaker, and Walt's like, nope, we're going to look elsewhere.
Really? So, now, see, I didn't know. I knew he had looked at some other places on the East Coast, but I didn't know Baltimore.
I know
was
a couple.
One of them.
Baltimore was among ones that wanted him to serve liquor there. I guess at the time, National Bohemian was a big Baltimore brewery. So.
Of course, yep.
So he took his business elsewhere, and look how it turned out. So we're going to introduce a new segment on the show that has nothing to do with movies, but it's called Let's Enjoy a Beverage. And if I had more equipment, I'd have a little theme song. But I did find out what Walt's favorite beverages are. I guess. He doesn't enjoy any now, but he used to enjoy V8 juice.
Really? See, I didn't know that, and I know a lot of Walt trivia.
I didn't know that until I looked it up, but he also liked a scotch and water after work.
I knew that.
You know that. And there's a drink called a Scotch Mist that he often had, a black and white Scotch whiskey with a lemon peel over crushed ice. So, isn't that something? Now, like I said, there's no such thing as a Disney beer that I know of, but there are some Disney wines, which we're not going to sample. First of all, we're recording this very early in the morning, and I'm not up for a beverage yet, but there's Disney wines like Once Upon a Vine, which they sell down at the shops in Disney World. And I didn't know this either until I was doing research. John Lasseter, who runs Pixar and Disney Animation, he has a winery also.
I did know that, yeah.
But none of the wines are named after Lightning McQueen or anything, so... So I found a cool drink. I was looking for something just kind of fun to try since I was thinking Disney and fun and
magical?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Magical.
We'll
So
go with
I
magical.
found this beverage company, and I'm not getting any kind of kickback for plugging these different beverage companies, but Boots Beverages, based out of Byron, Texas, they make all kinds of sodas based on flavors that were popular in the 40s and 50s. They do a strawberry cream soda and a coconut cream, lemon meringue. So I picked up a bottle of their caramel apple soda.
I know, this looks really good.
Which sounds really good, yeah. And of course, it's in a cool little craft. I guess craft sodas are kind of becoming a thing now. So here's the sound effect that everybody enjoyed so much last week. Yeah. Oh,
nice.
We got the little extra fizz, so we'll pour some, get near the mic.
Yeah.
You want a full glass, or this looks like it's going to be...
That's good.
Good. It won't knock you out, though, like a good beer, but go ahead and
really.
try it. Boots Beverages Caramel Apple Soda.
That is good. It's sweet.
It is sweet, and it is
sweet.
caramel apple. You can taste the caramel,
yeah,
and you
really
can taste the apple. I'll put that over there if you want some more, but that's really wild, though.
Yeah.
So check that out.
Very good.
Boots Beverages, bootsbeverages.com is their name. They also have a red hot soda, which would be the most disgusting thing I can imagine.
Yeah.
But I don't like cinnamon. This is really good, though. This
Usually
caramel
I drink
apple.
soda if I've eaten something hot and I'm trying to...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If I've eaten a cinnamon candy by accident.
Right.
I don't think I would drink a glass of this with dinner, but it would be good. Maybe a little glass like this, like sipping at a picnic or watching a great Disney movie.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's Let's Enjoy a Beverage, guys. Boots Beverages. We'll put a link on Twitter so you can check out their sodas and see if you want to get that. So, Sherri.
Yes.
How far back does your love of Disney go? When did the Disney bug first bite you?
Well, I mean, definitely since I've been a kid.
I'm going to be drinking a lot of this soda during the show.
Okay.
So.
We'll do that.
It's good.
It is good. But I didn't actually, I've watched Disney movies since I was a kid. I always loved Disney movies. I remember actually getting an album.
Oh, yes, the record album.
A record album. When I was little, I remember my father surprising me and playing it in the other room of Disco Duck.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's like one of my first Disney memories.
Of the Donald Duck disco.
Yes,
there's
the
another
Donald
song
Duck.
called Disco Duck
Yes.
that fakes Donald Duck.
Right.
But there's Macho Duck.
Yes.
Macho Duck from the Disco Mickey Mouse album.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's awesome just having that singular memory of your dad surprising you with the record. And that was such a big record at the time too.
Yeah.
They would advertise it on TV and
Yep.
I remember my mom surprising me with it, actually. I came home from
Really?
school and it was sitting on my bed. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And I still have the exact same record.
Yeah, it's funny. We just found it. My daughter, it's come full circle, and now my 19-year-old has, for Christmas, asked for a record player.
Nice.
And so we were going through old records and found it. So
Yeah, I love hunting for old Disney records, but I still have the original Disco Mickey Mouse that I have. So So it's cool. I think that's a big thing that Disney is for a lot of people, is it connects you back to your childhood in very specific points and very specific memories. What's kind of hard to remember, or what people don't realize now, is back when we were little, I mean, we're both in our 40s, so, and I've mentioned this last show, I think, there was not this deluge of children's entertainment being bombarded at you constantly. Right. So it was really special to have a Donald Duck record, because the rest of the time, all their other records were like the Sound of Music soundtrack or your parents' Village People record or whatever. Right. So it was really cool, and I think it, just for some people like you and I, it just burrowed a special place in our hearts and and just became a thing.
Yeah.
when you talk about audio stuff, one of my biggest connections to Disney is like the set of like 5 cassettes that I had that weren't book and tapes, but just like almost played the movie on a cassette with some narration. And I had Cinderella and Jungle Book and Pinocchio, and just listened to them over and over and over again.
Those, yeah.
Because you couldn't see those movies unless you couldn't see a Disney movie unless somebody was showing it somewhere. You couldn't watch them on TV.
Right.
And even until the late 80s, you couldn't get tapes of most of them. There was a couple that went through the cracks, but most of them you couldn't.
Right. You had to wait until it was re-released in the theaters.
And go see it in the theater, or, you know, the school would show a copy of it and it would be a huge deal or something like that. But
yes.
And then your family, you guys go to Disney World quite a bit. Not enough, obviously.
Not enough.
There's no such thing as enough.
Yes, it gets more and more. But yeah, I actually didn't get a chance to go to Disney World until I was, I think, 24.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I always loved the movies, but yeah, then once I went to Disney World, that just added to my Disney nerdom.
So that must have been like super intense though to go at 24, because it's something you've like looked at all your life and seen from a distance. And my wife always says now I had the fortune of going a bit when we were younger because my dad loved it, so we would go down. But my wife always talks about how it just seemed like so unobtainable back then. Like her parents made her think that was for rich people. Only rich people went to Disney World,
right? But
it wasn't all that expensive.
Yeah.
So do you guys fly or drive?
We've done both.
Yes.
You know, definitely driving is a lot cheaper. And
right.
It's funny, you're right. Back then, it probably wasn't as expensive. Now it is pretty expensive, and yet somehow I
well, you have to make it a priority.
Yeah,
that's what tax returns were made
exactly.
for. On the East Coast, there's like a faction of people, Disney World fans, flyers or drivers. Mm-hmm. Like we're diehard drivers. We wouldn't even think about flying. Like
really?
We wouldn't think about it, number one, because we can't afford it, but number two, driving is half the fun. And we drove as kids too, so there's stuff that I've seen for 40 years passing by and on the side of the road, the exact same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
And then you get excited as you see those landmarks.
Like mile markers.
You're like, oh, I'm getting this much closer.
Right. And then built, I think, specifically for Disney World, halfway between this area and Disney World is, you're shaking your head, yes.
South of the border.
South of the border.
Good old south of the border.
Is a giant conglomeration of gift shops. And gift shops. And gift shops.
And fireworks. Which is why my husband loves it.
Oh, okay. And some disgusting restaurants. Yes. And you have to stop there, or it's not a trip back to or fro. Have you ever stayed at South of the Border?
No, I have not. I'm sure that would be a real adventure. Have you stayed?
I stayed there once, but in a camper, so we didn't stay in one of their bug-infested hotels. Yes. But really selling South of the Border to you guys who have never been there. If you've only ever flown to Florida, you need to drive and stay
just
at
south of the border.
Here's a philosophical question for you.
Okay.
Do the parks play to your love of the movies, or are the movies a way to relive the parks? Or is it all just the big circle of life in that question?
That's deep. Deep Disney stuff. I would say definitely it started because I started with the love of the movies.
Right.
So it definitely played to my love of the movies. But now I think it's just become a big circle. It's all.
And when you're having like a bad day, or especially when it's cold outside up here in the north, and you're just missing some Florida, put on a good Disney video, either a movie or.
Yep.
Do you guys have a lot of like the vacation videos like that you can send away for, or just?
Oh yeah, we have all of those. We get those every year, whether we're going or not. Yep.
Old episodes of the Disney show where he's giving a tour of Disneyland or whatnot.
Yeah.
Just soak it all in.
Yep.
Soak it all in.
Yeah.
So, as always, I asked our guests to give me a list of their favorite movies, and we decided to make this one a Disney-tinted list, although you said your number one is the same either way.
Right.
Beauty and the Beast, favorite movie of all time, and favorite Disney movie, obviously. Mm-hmm. Your number two movie is my number two favorite movie of all time, and we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. But what, just real quick, would be some of your favorite non-Disney films to rattle off? I know you said The Princess Bride.
The Princess Bride, Dirty Dancing. I had a whole list. Now I can't.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And both of those, we've talked about on the show before. But Beauty and the Beast, 1991, a masterpiece. Seriously, just a masterpiece. First animated film ever to be nominated for Best Picture Oscar.
Yep.
Do you know what it lost to?
Oh, gosh, what did it lose to that year?
Silence of the Lambs, which everyone also raves about.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No, too busy watching Beauty and the Beast.
I was going to say, very different from Beauty and the Beast. Just a little
bit. So, did you see this when it came out in the theater?
Oh, yes.
Yes, and you fell in love with it.
Oh, yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, just amazing, the animation, and, that's kind of when Disney was reinventing itself. And
Little Mermaid came out in 89, and we'll get to that and how much we love that, but and then 2 years later, Beauty and the Beast, it's like, bang, we did it again. Maybe even better than Little Mermaid.
Right.
Just floored everybody. Such a great movie, and I'm sure most of you have seen it, and if you haven't, you need to go out and see it. And do you remember, like, in 1991, now, we were out of high school, it was kind of still weird to go see a cartoon movie in the theater for people our age, like 20-something-year-olds, to go to a cartoon. Like, you had to kind of sneak in a little bit, maybe, or not tell your friends necessarily, unless they were...
I do remember that, and yet I feel like I was always such a Disney nerd.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I remember that I had going back to The Little Mermaid, on my locker in high school, nice. I had Sebastian the Crab.
Nice.
So, other people had,
nice.
all their favorite movie crushes. Mine was Sebastian the Crab. So,
oddly enough, I had a picture of Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing in my locker because I thought she was hot.
Yeah, I'm sure Patrick Swayze was somewhere in my locker too. But
so I watched it last night, Beauty and the Beast again with my daughter, who's seen it before, and she probably wouldn't be so scared of the movie if I didn't have the surround sound cranked up to like 13 while we were watching it.
Yeah,
but
gotta have that.
The thing I love about that movie is just flawless storytelling. Mm-hmm. There is not a wasted frame in that movie. Like, every single second counts. And I guess you can make an argument that some of the musical segments aren't necessary, but that's the most entertaining part.
Right.
So it's just, there's nothing you can take out in that movie will make sense. It's all just bang, bang, bang.
Right.
Solid, like 85, 90 minutes of storytelling.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm also a musical person. I love musicals. So yeah, I couldn't imagine that movie without any of the songs that are in there.
And it's kind of cool. Like, I mean, we're bouncing into Little Mermaid again, but
yeah, I know.
The music from Little Mermaid was written by these guys from Broadway, Ashman and Menken,
yep.
right? And so they kind of took some of the Broadway sensibilities and took it to Little Mermaid, and that was successful. So with Beauty and the Beast, they're like, bang, let's just do a Broadway show, animate it. Like that opening number called Belle, and she just, I mean, it's just you're like watching a Broadway show, which of course later it became a Broadway show.
Mm-hmm. Yep, imagine that.
And I remember when it came out, that chandelier, the ballroom scene where Beauty and the Beast are dancing, and the chandelier was one of the first, like, really centerpieces of CGI animation, of computer designed animation, and that chandelier ballroom scene just was the most amazing thing we had ever seen at that time.
It was amazing to
unbelievable.
us. Yeah.
It still holds up. When I was watching it last night, and my 13-year-old son was in the room, I was like, watch this scene. This like blew us away, and it's probably super dated by now, and it still holds up. Now in the Beauty in the Be Our Guest scene, the little dancing spoons look like a third grade computer graphics project at this point. But
I still think it looks amazing. But my 19-year-old has informed me that not so much.
We're just used to it.
Yeah.
But the computer animation advances so fast, and this is 91. But we, even at 91, the thought of an all-computer animated film was completely foreign. I guess whoever was working on Toy Story had it going on in their head, but the rest of us were like, what? That's not going to happen. No. And there's just little teeny tiny pieces of computer animation sprinkled throughout, and they don't stand out as much. Have you ever seen the work in progress version of Beauty and the Beast, where it's 70% done?
I think I've seen clips and bits and pieces, but
at the 1991 New York Film Festival, they debuted a work in progress before the movie was done. So it's like 30% of it is pencil sketches and still pictures and all this stuff. And when the movie first came out on DVD, we got our hands on it, my animation loving friends and I. And I remember sitting there one night and watching it 3 times in a row. We were just blown away by the access to that kind of nerditry of seeing pencil sketches animated with the soundtrack and everything. So, good times. What do you think about the new Beauty and the Beast movie coming out?
I'm excited about it. Yeah. I'm excited, but cautious, apprehensive. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. It's I have to look at these live action movies that they're doing very separately from the animated movies.
Right.
It's a total... And so far, all the live action movies, I think, have been very, very good.
Pretty good.
So
Cinderella was really neat. It kind of filled in some holes from the original story, but stayed truthful to the Disney movie.
Right.
And Maleficent was good.
Right. I liked Maleficent. I know a lot of people didn't like it because it did stray
A little bit.
lot. Yeah.
And Alice in Wonderland I thought was kind of boring, but I know everybody else loved it. That was a huge hit. But
yeah, I liked the first one. I actually have not seen the second one.
I didn't bother with the second one. So yeah, me too. I mean, Beauty and the Beast, when they first announced it, I'm like, what's the point? The Beauty and the Beast is perfect. It's still timeless. It's not dated at all, except for the dancing spoons.
Right.
And why remake this? And I was very apprehensive. And then as a little bit of it trickled out, and I haven't watched too much of it, so I'll just go see it. But it looks like it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think it will. I don't think the music can compare to, again, that's where my apprehension comes, because there's no way it can compare to the original, to the 91 version. But, I'm taking it for what it is. I'm excited. And, of course, again, my 19-year-old is very excited because she's also a very big Harry Potter fan. So,
the crossover of, what's her name?
Emma Watson.
As Belle, right. Yeah. Okay. So, and these other people in it, I don't even know who they are. Like, the Beast is from some show or something.
Amanda, my 19-year-old knows who that is, but I don't recognize who he is. I
think the Beast is from Downton Abbey, and then I don't know, and then of course LeFou is
Josh Gad, who was Olaf.
Olaf, right? Yep. And I think works at Disney World now. Pushes the button on a ride. He's always
probably
there. So. Do you know the Beast's name, like the prince's name, when he's not a beast? I had to look this up, but I knew
Adam.
Yes, very good, very good. We came out of the movie once when it was re-released, and I said to the kids, like, "What do you think the Beast's name is?" And they all decided it was Chad. Okay. So we were calling him Prince Chad for the longest time, and then they announced it's Prince Adam. So it's hard for me to remember.
Better than Adam.
Prince Chad, yes. And for me, I always say this is the story that I've seen translated the most times, because I've seen it in the theater repeatedly in its regular release, and then I saw it in the 3D release a few years ago. It came out in 3D. Saw it in IMAX when they added the extra scene, which I don't particularly care for.
Forgot about that. Yes, I did see it in IMAX.
At the Science Center.
Yep.
And they added a scene, which is a good scene, but the movie is so flawless when you put an extra scene in there, it slows the movie down.
Yeah.
So actually last night we watched it. I had to go the roundabout way to get to the regular version of it on the DVD so we could watch it without that extra scene. And then I've seen it on ice. Had to see Disney on Ice, Beauty and the Beast years ago.
Yep, I think I saw that, yeah.
Saw the Broadway version of it. Not on Broadway, but the Broadway Touring Company. And then, of course, the theme park version at Hollywood Studios.
It's very good.
Which I've only seen when it's 98 degrees or above. So
that kind of makes it not as fun.
Good. And then I also read, interesting fun fact, Angela Lansbury, who plays Mrs. Potts, recorded all her lines during breaks from Murder, She Wrote.
Really?
So she went and solved a mystery and then came and sang Beauty and the Beast. So that's Beauty and the Beast, 1991. Your all-time favorite movie. How many times would you say you've seen that movie?
Oh my gosh.
6,000?
Yeah, it's about. It's really hard to, I mean, I've seen it so many times. It's in the hundreds.
Yes,
easily.
Me too.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
But before we move on to a movie that fills 100% of my heart with joy, let me just remind you, folks, of our back catalog of 24 episodes of What's Your Favorite Movie. Our latest episode turned out really great, I thought, but it hasn't hit the numbers that past episodes have been able to achieve. So if you haven't listened to episode 24, titled Movie Beers, Movie Cars, Jaws, and Star Wars, horrible title, go back and give it a listen. Check out some of the other episodes. They are all fun and all have tons of movies in them. And if you're not crazy about the movie and the title of the episode, there's at least 4 to 5 other movies in there we talk about as well. So put an older episode of What's Your Favorite Movie in your ears today. The entire back catalog is available on iTunes and Spreaker. That was episode 24. And it was a lot about Star Wars. I should have called it May the 24th Be With You.
Yeah, you should have.
Real missed opportunity there. Yes, then it would have been huge. Let's talk about, for the next 6 hours, a little movie called The Little Mermaid.
I can do that. And it's real close. I mean, Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast are real close,
yes, I would agree,
in my heart.
Yes. But Little Mermaid, number 2 in your heart, number 1 in my Disney heart. Tell us about your experience with The Little Mermaid before I rattle on for an hour.
Well, again, I already went into some of it. I know I remember just watching it over and over and over in high school. And I was not shy about telling people how much I loved it. Like I said, I had Sebastian in my in my locker, so and he's still my favorite, my absolute favorite side character.
He's a great
ever.
sidekick character.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely.
And kind of set the template for all side characters afterwards. They're all kind of...
That is true.
They're all kind of nephews of Sebastian.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Which would be a good movie in and of itself, Nephews of Sebastian.
That would be a good movie. Should write to Disney, tell them that.
So you went and saw this in high school.
Yes.
Again, a little odd for a high school kid to be going, especially with Little Mermaid, where we're back at 89.
Right.
I guess, not to be sexist, but for a girl, it was a little more okay.
I was just thinking that, but I wasn't going to say it. But yes,
I
think it was probably a little less, stigma for a girl to go see it.
So yeah, I mean, I was a huge Disney fan, and a couple buddies of mine were either animation fans or Disney fans. Mm-hmm. So we went and saw it the Saturday it came out, and not being familiar with children's movies and all that, we went like at 1:30 on a Saturday. Kind of a mistake. Crowded theater. Right. Super loud, but we sat there and watched it, and afterwards we were like, what did we just see? Was that, like, absolutely amazing? Because being a Disney fan of this age, I'm 43 now, so growing up in the 70s and 80s, Disney was kind of dormant a little bit. They weren't the powerhouse that they were in the 40s and 50s and even 60s. Mm-hmm. So everything that kind of came out while we were kids was kind of, Right. The Rescuers, Robin Hood, even though that came out when we were born, but still... Rescuers, Robin Hood, not Lady and the Tramp, Fox and the Hound, and definitely like the Great Mouse Detective and Black Cauldron, like kind of
they
whatever.
Definitely the 80s definitely was kind of like a rough period for.
So then this Little Mermaid comes out, and it's like, holy crap, that was just as good as Cinderella, if not better, or Snow White or whatever. And it's like, sorry, Walt, like I feel bad saying that because Walt, but oh my gosh, and then we talked about it for like days afterwards. Like, was that really that great? So then my buddy Grant and I went back like on the Tuesday night and just saw it like at 7:30 at night by our, with a smaller crowd, and I was hooked for life right there. I was like, that is just the most amazing movie I have ever seen. Just fell in love with it, absolutely. Doesn't hurt that I still have a crush on Ariel, even though she's 16 and a cartoon character.
Really. I think a lot of, like, for boys, definitely the crush on Ariel. Girls, definitely Prince Eric is my biggest. He's the best prince still.
And then it just kind of, like, brought in this wave of renaissance of Disney animation, where the next year we had The Rescuers Down Under, whatever, and it's like, okay, Little Mermaid was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And then, bang, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. Those were all jaw-dropping, amazing, whatever. Go downhill slightly with, in my opinion, Pocahontas.
I really liked, but it's not the same.
I like all of them from the 90s. Pocahontas, Hunchback, Mulan, Hercules, but none of them compared to those four right there. Little Mermaid.
I think you're right. They just stand out because it had been such kind of a dry spell for Disney. And I love the Rescuers, but just not the same. And then Little Mermaid just blew everybody away. And the music, definitely the music is what made it.
Those were, and it had been a long time since there had been a classic Disney song too, like anything really, really good. And I remember having cassette tapes of like Disney songs where they were all from the 40s and 50s, and then Part of Your World and Under the Sea were just stuck in there with all those others. So it was an exciting time to be a Disney fan with the Little Mermaid coming out. I consider that my second favorite movie of all time because it's just just a great movie. And you can still go out and buy toys of it, and you can have my daughter has a Little Mermaid bed and Little Mermaid sheets.
I think for little girls, my other daughter's 10, and that's still, of course, Frozen is her favorite now, but Little Mermaid is still her second favorite, and loves everything about Little Mermaid. So it just held up. It is absolutely amazing how Disney is able to still make truckloads of money off of not only like this 30-year-old movie, but 70-year-old movie, Snow White, Cinderella, still just super relevant and super popular. And
they haven't done a whole lot with Snow White and Cinderella as far as, more movies or TV shows or whatever, but
right.
There is a Cinderella 2 and 3.
There is. They went through that period of straight DVD sequels. They were not the greatest.
Not the greatest. Have you seen a bunch of them or most of them?
I have seen most of them. I've seen all 3 of the Little Mermaids.
Yes.
Of course.
The third one wasn't bad. Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning, I want to say.
Yeah,
I didn't write them all down. The second one wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But I loved in the second one, which was 10 years later maybe, Flounder is older, so he's fat and pudgy and a little wrinkly, and he's got kids.
Right.
I thought that was a nice touch. And what's really cool is they made a movie in 2009 called Waking Sleeping Beauty.
Yes,
the documentary.
I did. I have seen that. It's really good.
And this story about the Little Mermaid is something I've carried with me for, forever. And it's why do you like the Little Mermaid so much? And I explain, well, it's because, I lived through this dark period of Disney almost nothingness and then got this great gift. And it was just so, it was just this was my movie, whatever. And this movie, Waking Sleeping Beauty, is about that. It's about how the Little Mermaid brought the Disney animation brand back to life, back to what it is now. It was just so cool to watch a movie, the story that I've told people so many times being spit back to me from all these Disney people that I've seen in interviews and whatnot over the years.
Yeah. It's definitely something I think everybody, even if you're not the biggest Disney fan, you gotta watch it. People don't realize that animation almost went away for Disney in the 80s.
Yeah.
They were going to do away with it. And
we wouldn't have a Little Mermaid then.
I know. Can you imagine?
So this movie is 2009, Waking Sleeping Beauty. It's kind of hard to get your hands on, but if you ever get a chance to see it, you should watch it. And there's a great clip in the movie of Jodie Benson, who plays Ariel. I believe she starts singing Part of Your World, and then Howard Ashman comes in and kind of gives her some guidance, and they dim the lights, and it almost looks like she's underwater in the little booth.
It's amazing.
And she sings the song. I think in the movie they just play a little bit of it, but in the bonus features you can watch her do the whole song, and I don't care how weird this sounds. It gives me freaking tingles. It's just so beautiful and such a wonderful moment, and man, I love that movie.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
It's a great movie, and I also get a kick out of being a 43-year-old male and saying Little Mermaid's one of my favorite movies. And I have Little Mermaid stickers on my car and a Little Mermaid license plate frame.
I think that's great.
Another related story is one of the things I love about Disney World. It brings out the kid in some people. Now, I don't need the kid to be brought out in me because I'm like this all the time and whatever. When the Little Mermaid ride opened and then they had the Ariel meet and greet next to the ride. I never did it before when I was there with friends or whatever, but I was with my family and we rode the ride and I was on this big Little Mermaid high. And my family was all like, yes, we can go wait in line so you can meet Ariel, Daddy. So we waited in line, and it was the single greatest moment of Disney World time ever because I was a 6-year-old girl that I never was, whatever. I was a kid and talking to Ariel, and it wasn't a girl in a costume. I was talking to Ariel. My wife was pregnant with my daughter London, and I was telling her how I wanted to name my daughter Ariel, and Ariel was all like, "Oh, that's so wonderful! You have a little angel fish," and all this stuff. It was such a great moment. And then we came out of there, I was high. I was that was awesome! Yeah. I don't get that worked up about characters usually, but...
Yeah. And I take it you love the Little Mermaid ride that's down there.
The ride is awesome, yeah.
It is awesome.
We were down there for a week, and it was a couple weeks before the ride was supposed to open, and I was really upset that we didn't plan it better so that the ride was open, and they had the big fence up and everything, and then one day we were there, and there was some Fast Pass booths set up temporarily, and I was like, oh, let's go check this out. And they were giving out passes for a preview of the Little Mermaid ride.
Oh, wow.
So I was ecstatic to get to ride that early. And I was standing in line please don't go down, please don't go down, please don't go down.
Right.
Ride. Got on it. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then now every time we go, my wife and I get into a small argument about how many times I can ride it. Because I would just ride it all day.
Right.
It's one of my favorite rides.
Yeah.
Side note, what's your favorite ride at Disney World, Sherri?
Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain.
Yes.
Excellent choice.
Yep, I just love everything about it. I think it's good music, good animatronics. It's just a perfect ride.
Based on a movie that they will not let us see.
Exactly.
My favorite ride is the People Mover.
Oh yeah, that's a great one too. I love that one. You gotta get on it every time.
I like dry, nothing happens to you rides.
Yeah.
People Mover is basically a space train.
Yeah.
Just rides around.
Real slow. Really relaxing though. Great ride to get on after you've been running around the park all day.
Let's talk about Mary Poppins, 1964.
Yes.
Walt's favorite movie of his that he ever made. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your love affair with Mary Poppins, Sherri.
I think that's one that has grown as I've gotten older.
Yes.
I've always loved it.
Right.
I've watched it since I was little. My brother used to love it. He might kill me for saying this on the podcast, but when he was little, it was one of his favorites, so we watched it over and over again. And again, I love musicals, so just as I've gotten older, it's really just become one of my favorites. I could watch it over and over and over again.
I know what you mean about it growing on you, though, because I think when you're little, you're more attracted to the animated part.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's only one. It's all the animations in that one part, right? It doesn't.
Right. There's just the penguins.
It's a big long part, but yeah, I think people are, when you're a kid, you're mostly just want to see that and the spoonful of sugar number. It does drag on a little near the end with the banker scene and all that, but it's a great movie.
That.
Yeah.
And Walt's favorite song is in that movie, too.
Feed the Birds.
Yes.
Yes. And if you ever hear any interview with the Sherman brothers who wrote the music, they will tell you that Walt would call them into his office on a Friday afternoon and play Feed the Birds.
I think that's part of the reason, too, why that has become, as I get older, more of one of my favorite movies, just because I'm becoming more and more of a Disney nerd all the time, and so I'm into Walt trivia, and so just knowing all that.
We have some trivia coming up soon. Yeah, so this was kind of like in 1964 when they made this. It was like the culmination of everything Disney had learned as far as animation and live action filmmaking, and it was to be his pinnacle of his career, which as far as filmmaking was, it kind of was. He died shortly after, so. And I think after Mary Poppins, he kind of turned his attentions to Disney World and kind of got out of the movie business as far as hands-on. So this really was kind of his swan song. Is that the right phrase? Swan song?
Yeah.
And it was nominated for Best Picture, which way to go, Disney. They don't think they ever had a Best Picture nomination up until then. And got Best Director nominated. But Julie Andrews won for Best Actress. And Chim Chim Cheree won for Best Song, which is kind of odd because Supercalifragilistic's really the big song from that movie.
Right.
Or Feed the Birds is more of the...
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's not the song I think of immediately when I think of Mary Poppins, so it's not my... Yeah. I like it, but it's not my favorite song from that movie.
And that song is in the Great Movie Ride at Hollywood Studios, where you can see them singing Chim Chim Cheree. What do you think about the new Mary Poppins movie coming out?
I am excited. It's not a remake, which a lot of people think it is. It's the sequel, which they were not able to do until now,
right?
Because of rights, and P.L. Travers really wasn't real happy with Mary Poppins. So I'm excited about it. It's not going to be Julie Andrews. I love Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Right.
So again, being a Broadway fan, so I'm glad he's going to be in it.
Did you see the Hamilton?
I have no, because I don't have $1 million, nor am I anybody important to get a ticket.
Gotcha. You're very important to us here at What's Your Favorite Movie, Sherri. So it's Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins and Lin-Manuel
Miranda.
I always call him Lin-Manuel Hamilton.
Yeah.
And he's he's like a new character, but the kids from the first movie are grown up,
right?
In this, so it's like. And then Mary Poppins drops back in. Meryl Streep's in it. Colin Firth.
Which I just found out.
Angela Lansbury's going to be in it. And Dick Van Dyke
I'm very excited about
the son of the banker from the first movie.
Yep.
So that should be pretty cool. Yeah. And that's amazing that he's going to be in a movie. Dick Van Dyke's in a 1964 movie and its sequel in 2018.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Dick Van Dyke is still kicking strong. Yeah. And then, of course, I guess you touched on Saving Mr. Banks, which is I didn't write the year down. 2014 or 13, 14, 15, who cares? Movie about the making of the movie of Mary Poppins. It's actually more about P.L. Travers' life, or at least her life surrounding that incident.
Right.
You seen it?
I have seen it, yes.
Awesome
Love
movie.
It. Yep.
Emma Thompson plays P.L. Travers, and she was just obviously a bear to work with, but the movie goes into why she was like that and why it was so important to her, and maybe she didn't necessarily mean to be horrible, and make Walt Disney pull out all his hair. But
Right.
Tom Hanks plays Walt Disney in it, which is just one of the great casting decisions of all time.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And your younger daughter, she'll sit and watch the Mary Poppins?
She will watch the Mary Poppins. Again, probably not her favorite, but
Right.
she definitely likes it. Yeah, she'll watch it with us.
Good times. Mary Poppins. And then real quick, you also had in your top 5 was Lady and the Tramp
Yep,
from
which I've always
1955.
loved. Yeah,
Which we screened
we did. Yep, What was it?
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Outside. And Cinderella from 1950. In my opinion, Cinderella is the ultimate Disney film. That's taking everything that they learned between Snow White 38 and Cinderella 50, and then it sets the template for what a perfect Disney movie should be up through the princess movies of now.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
Well, obviously, I agree, and unfortunately, I love Snow White. I understand how significant Snow White is in Disney history, but it's never been one of my favorites.
No, it's a little slow, but it's very well put together. It plays more like little short cartoons. It's like 8 or 9 cartoons kind of packed together that tell a story as a whole. But and Lady and the Tramp is excellent, also.
Yes.
On my top 5 list of animated films, it would be Little Mermaid, Cinderella, Jungle Book, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White. Lady and the Tramp would actually be 6. Jungle Book and Lady and the Tramp, to me, are the best examples of when they stray from the format of the ultimate Disney movie, but it's still excellent.
Right.
I need princesses, I need singing, I need little animals, I need magic. I want to hit all those points. Lady and the Tramp doesn't have magic, doesn't have princesses, neither does the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
The Jungle Book has great music, and so does Lady and the Tramp. Yeah.
Lady and the Tramp is just, I don't know why, I just have loved it since I was a kid. It's just I think it's probably one of the first Disney films I saw.
Nice, yeah.
As a kid, I remember seeing that, so,
Me too,
yeah.
in the theater, yeah.
Yeah.
Full of Disney magic.
Yes.
And you can eat at the restaurant in Disney World, the Tony's restaurant. Have you ever eaten there?
It's been a long time.
Long
time. I know it doesn't get very good reviews, but I've heard of people who love it. So
we all liked it. We all had to order spaghetti and meatballs. Like that's
right.
You have to order spaghetti and meatballs.
Why would you eat anything else?
And if you hear some fun facts for you guys, Lady and the Tramp fun facts. If you go to the back window of the restaurant, you can hear the dogs howling out in the alleyway. And if you give your autograph book to the waitress, they'll get Lady and the Tramp to paw print it in the background.
Very cool. I did not know that.
Pretty exciting. Yeah. Yes. Kind of weird, kind of morbid, kind of odd, but one of my favorite periods of Disney films is right after, sadly, when Walt died, December 1966. The company found themselves very rudderless and didn't know what to do with themselves because they had their captain, Walt called all the shots, was very hands-on. So they made a string of these movies that all kind of stuck to a very basic format and just kind of stuck to what Walt had taught them. But they didn't have the expertise of Walt's storytelling or his hands-on. So they just produced this weird bunch of movies from late 60s to early 80s. So I guess a lot of it has to do with the time period that we grew up, because a lot of these would be on HBO nonstop, and I would just watch them all the time. But these are movies that I love so dear to my heart, and that are huge parts of my Disney love, and they're all absolutely ridiculous. Blackbeard's Ghost. Did you ever see that?
I have not seen that.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. The Love Bug. Classic.
Of course I've seen those, yes. Of course.
And some of these were big hits. Love Bug was a big hit. The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. That was a big hit.
I've not seen that.
Oh, you gotta watch
I have to brush up on my live action Disney.
You're not going to have seen any of these. Barefoot Executive.
I don't think so.
So good. Oh, what's his name? From Goldie Hawn's husband or boyfriend. Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell works at a TV network, and he gets a monkey to pick out hit shows for him. Oh, so good.
Sounds great.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
I'm sure. I know I've seen that. It's been a long time.
Yes, which is kind of like them trying to copy the Mary Poppins format.
Right.
It's a musical with animation mixed in, but it's really good. Snowball Express.
Not seen that.
Snowball Express is like 30 minutes of Dean Jones backwards on skis going down a hill. So that's really good. World's Greatest Athlete. Oh, what a great movie. World's Greatest Athlete came out on my birthday, the day I was born.
Really?
And it just happens to be one of my very, very top favorites. I used to watch a million times on HBO. Apple Dumpling Gang.
Seen that.
Yes.
Yep.
Gus. about the football kicking mule. The sequel to The Shaggy Dog, The Shaggy DA, as in District Attorney. Great movie. Tim Conway in so many of these films. The Cat from Outer Space. Oh, I love The Cat from Outer Space. Hot Lead and Cold Feet. It's a Don Knotts Western. So good. And then a serious one, Amy. It's about a woman who leaves her abusive husband and becomes a teacher for deaf children.
What? Wow. That's
1981. I love that movie. And then there's also a really good movie from the 80s called The Watcher in the Woods. It's like a straight-up horror film, but it's PG, Disney. It would probably be PG-13 if it came out now, but that's a tight movie.
Yeah.
Watcher in the Woods.
Yeah.
And then more modern films that I love to the core of my heart. Cheetah.
Not seen it.
Cheetah is so good. They adopt these two kids live in Africa and they adopt a cheetah as a pet. Oh man!
You know. Now that you say that, that does sound familiar.
Sound good?
I might have seen that.
The kid, the boy from Adventures in Babysitting's in it.
Okay.
Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken, about Sonora Webster, the diving horse girl, climbed on the horse and dove in. Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
I love that movie.
You're saying these names and I don't think I've seen them, and then you're telling me the stories, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yes, great movie. Hunt it down. And I love Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but even more, I am absolutely obsessed with Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Those were good movies.
Yes.
Very good movies.
Yes. And they just tore out the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground in Disney World, and that's sad.
Yeah, I know that finally went, and the ride went the attraction went a few years ago. Yeah.
The movie was awesome, too.
Yeah.
Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Yep.
Loved it. Well, my friend Chris, who you also know, who lives in Florida, and I probably is not supposed to mention where he works, but you can probably guess since I'm talking about him right now. He sent us some extra hard, super nerdy Disney trivia to try your hand at. So Chris sent us some super nerdy Disney trivia, and you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I wasn't sure exactly where your Disney nerdy level is. It's pretty high. It's pretty high. I mean, you haven't seen Gus.
Yeah, I know.
But
this is going to put me to shame.
We won't hold that against you. So here we go. And folks, please play at home. Which full-length Disney animated feature was the final one to use a storybook introduction for the film?
Oh,
I'll give you a hint. 70s.
70s?
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe Robin Hood?
That is correct. Very nice. Yeah, all the older movies open with the storybook, but they kind of did away with that. What song was awarded Best Original Song from 1989's The Little Mermaid at the Academy Awards?
I would think
There's
it would
so
be...
many good songs.
I know.
It's hard to pick.
It's really hard to pick. Part of Your World?
Second guess? Under the Sea.
Under the Sea. Okay.
Right. In The Great Mouse Detective, what is Olivia's last name?
Oh my goodness. Wow. I really don't know.
Flavisham.
Wow. Yeah, I would have never gotten that.
I only picked that one because I knew I would have known that one because I just like saying Flavisham all the time.
Right.
Little history for people. In the 80s, Disney started Touchstone Pictures. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. So they could make more grown-up movies because all they could make was kids' films. So what was the first film released under Touchstone Pictures in 1984?
I might be wrong about this. I know it was a Touchstone picture. I want to say Splash.
That is correct, yes. Very good. And then they kind of like released it and nobody knew it was Disney, and then people were once it was a hit, Disney took the credit for it. And they were like, oh yeah. By the way, we're also making the Golden Girls too. Did everybody want to know that? So in what mythical mountain is the pastoral sequence of Fantasia set? Mythical mountain. Do you know any mythical mountains?
No, I don't really know any mythical mountains.
Mount Olympus.
Well, I knew that mountain now that you say the name.
Right.
Darn it.
In what state does the story of Dumbo take place?
Oh.
They show it in the beginning when the stork is delivering.
Ohio,
Florida.
Oh, wow. How could I get that wrong?
What does the walrus dine on in Alice in Wonderland?
Oh, you're getting all these movies that are not on my favorites. I'm not sure.
Oysters. There's a whole song about it.
Yeah.
I told you these were super nerdy. It's all Chris's fault. Speaking of favorite movies, what element does the cat from outer space need to repair his spaceship?
I really don't know.
Gold. Oh, he needs gold.
Wow.
This one's easier.
Okay.
In Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, what type of object do the children use for their sleeping quarters? Do you remember what they slept in?
I know they were maybe a Lego?
That is correct. A Lego,
okay.
Yes. And name the detective mouse in the Aristocats, whose name is also a type of cheese. The Aristocats, another one that you watch every night.
Right. Seen that maybe once a long time ago. A type of cheese.
It is super nerdy Disney trivia, so.
We'll say brie.
Brie. That's a good name. Roquefort.
I've never even heard of that as a cheese. Oh.
Never heard. I wouldn't know it if I fell over it. Sherri, I kept score. Aren't you glad I finally remembered to keep score?
Oh yeah, I'm so glad this time.
3 out of 10.
No, I failed. I'm a bad Disney nerd.
Oh. You won't be able to go to Disney World for a year now because of that.
I know.
I'm very sorry. I'll have to take your spot on your next family vacation. So that is super nerdy Disney trivia. Thanks to Chris for sending that in.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot, dude. I think we should wrap it up here. We're hitting about an
Okay.
hour. I hope you had fun talking about Disney movies.
I always love talking about Disney movies.
Remember, to make this show a success, we need everybody to help out by spreading the word. Share a link on Facebook, retweet one of our promos on Twitter. We have stuff on Instagram, too, that you can repost and pass the word along. If you post something on Facebook, it's a huge help if you could also write something in the status update, just so people don't think it's a recipe for amazing melt-in-your-mouth pizza shooters or extreme fajitas and just scroll right by it. Grab somebody's attention, point the show out to them. If you have trouble figuring out how to share the show, problems with a link, or whatever the case may be, feel free to email us at favemoviepodcast@yahoo.com or drop the show a line on Facebook, and we'll be happy to sort things out for you. And just a quick programming note, as you, of course you know, the show comes out the first and third Wednesday of each month. You knew that, Sherri, didn't
that.
you? Yes. So March 2017 has 5 Wednesdays, so we will see you again on April 5th of 2017. So don't go into a tizzy in 2 weeks when there's not another episode, because according to the numbers, you all are just clamoring for that. So yeah. Any feedback at all is welcome. Comments, movies we should check out, topic suggestions, want to be a guest? I'll even take questions about Disney World. If you need help planning a trip, why not? Again, our email is favemoviepodcast@yahoo.com. Twitter, you can find the show at WYFMoviePodcast, and you can follow me at Ed South. Sherri, do you have a Twitter?
I do not have a Twitter.
You do not have a Twitter.
No.
Nothing to plug?
No, nothing to plug.
Any books coming out?
No books. I guess I better get busy. Better do something.
Sherri, thank you so much for making the drive up here, as I always say, and coming and hanging out with us and talking Disney movies. I'm sure I will watch The Little Mermaid in the next 48 hours now that
I'm sure I will, too.
my mermaid juices are flowing.
Yep.
That sounds disgusting. Guys, don't forget, for unique and exclusive t-shirts inspired by nostalgia, pop culture, and iconic movie themes, it's DeckShirts.com. Just for listening to the show, they want to give you 20% off your order. Use promo code WYFMovie at checkout to take advantage of this generous offer from our sponsor. That's DEXShirts.com. It was great talking Disney with you and tailoring this episode to our good friends at the Walt Disney Company. Thank you so much, Sherri.
No problem.
Until next time, guys, it's khaki wishes and cookie dreams. So long.